Hey, party people. Coach Patrick here, Endurance Nation, back with another weekly podcast episode for you. This is your opportunity to catch up on some good lessons learned, make sure that you're becoming a smarter athletes, faster athletes inside the Endurance Nation world. So if we, make you smarter here over the course of this 10-minute talk. Perhaps if I didn't totally gross you out with my Diet Coke burp there. So sorry. We hope you like it. Hope you share it, pass it on to someone else. Tell them go check us out at endurancenation.us. This episode, I'm talking to you about managing in-season fatigue. And this is a really important one for me as a coach, simply because as we move across the course of the season, it becomes harder and harder to discern what real fatigue is. Like we expect as we do more training that we'll be more tired. As we adapt, we expect to be maybe a little less tired, but the work continues to go up. It's a relentless build towards our event in terms of time and stress and fatigue. And after a while, you just kind of tune it out, right? So it's kind of like that noise. Like let's say your neighbor's got the noisiest, washing machine ever, and it's right behind that wall. And it just drives you crazy, and it's on and you're doing your work. But after about 5 minutes, you don't even notice anymore because you've just acclimated to it, right? You just become desensitized and it goes away. And in many cases, endurance athletes can become desensitized to their own fatigue, and that can be troublesome. That's when we start to move into the realm of overtraining. That's when we start to move into the realm of underperforming. And people will start making decisions based off of that underperforming side to improve it without ever really addressing the fact that it's the fatigue that's the issue. It's not your running shoes. It's not your bicycle fit. So you start changing something that's absolutely 100% okay. That's actually making it worse. You haven't addressed the root cause of your problem, but you've also changed some other elements. So when you get back on your feet, you're like, I'm finally feeling good again. I got rid of that fatigue, but man, my quads are killing me on the bike. What's wrong? It's because you changed your bike fit for a reason that wasn't right? You did it. You've tried to fix a problem, and that wasn't the real problem, right? So really important that we are dialed in to manage that in-season fatigue, okay? And that's what we want to do. So, think about in-season fatigue. The most important thing you can do is understand what your healthy baseline is. So I've got an Oura ring, if you've got sort of like general heart rate metrics, if you're using HRV and you've got a number you can follow, if you just do RPE in the morning, all of that matters. It sounds ridiculous, but building the habit of just checking in with yourself at least once a day on a consistent basis gives you a really sort of early warning system of fatigue and is independent of your sessions. If you're only measuring progress based off of your performance and workouts, you're going to have good days, bad days, based on weather, based on rest, based on conditions, based on motivation. And that's going to really vary. It's going to be hard to tell whether or not you're really accruing fatigue because you may have had a great race, even if you're tired, relative to the competition, which is no indicator of actually where you stand on the fatigue-o-meter. So really doing that internal introspective look, super important. Okay. So when we think about that fatigue for you, it's important to really dial in specifically what it is. For example, is your fatigue like all day fatigue, like morning to night, you're just tired? Or is your fatigue just really related to the workout, unable to hit those numbers or unable to kind of complete the whole session, right? So you want to know, is it like a macro type of fatigue or is it micro fatigue? Is it all of your workouts, for example, or is it just one particular workout? Like, do you really get fatigued from the swim, but you're okay back in running? Or you really fatigue when you lift weights, but you're okay when you're running? Like, what is the thing that really gets you to that space of being deeply in fatigue? Let's identify that. Let's really kind of nail it down. If it's just all day general fatigue, that's very different than like sport specific fatigue, which may relate to like a particular form issue, infrastructure issue, like core strength, or maybe even technique related issue. Swimming with poor form just makes it so much more costly and tiring, for example. And then finally, like, is it all the days or is it just some of the days? Like, are you fatigued Monday through Sunday? Or is it really by the time you get to Thursday that things go downhill? Or maybe you're on a plan inside Endurance Nation with that Thursday split long run. Maybe Friday, Saturday are just brutal. Sunday, you can pull it around, but it really means your Saturday is kind of janked. And when it gets into that position, then you're not really doing the work you want to do on Saturday, which we're counting on for the overall progression of your program. Well, then it's time for us to make some adjustments. So those are your three questions: full day or workout only? All your workouts or just one sport? And then all the days or just some days? What does it look like? So that really allows us to kind of narrow down specifically where we are. And then when we start dealing about fatigue, let's start big picture to small. So if you have identified that fatigue, and you know where it is and sort of the onset causes, instead of just, again, dialing in that really specific thing we want to fix. And it's tempting. It must be how I tie my shoes. It must be the sunlight in my eyes. It must be My breathing, I'll breathe to the left instead of the right or whatever it is. Let's start with the macro blocks first, because proper macro blocks and taking care of the big picture actually makes lots of other things better as well. So just breathing to the left just helps you with your breathing. But let's just say relaxation. Maybe you're just too tight and stiff in the water, and that's causing some additional stress for you. Becoming more relaxed swimming just makes you a better swimmer overall. And also you're practicing relaxation, a useful skill that we can use in many different contexts. So let's go macro first in terms of the solution orders that we change. Because, for example, in this case, focusing on sleep and getting more consistent sleep, even if it's not more than 8 hours or 8 hours or more, you're close to it or you're consistent with your number. That helps you across all aspects of your life, not just with this current fatigue problem that you're facing. So let's start with that sleep. Let's start with that nutrition. Let's take a good hard look at what it is you're eating. Is there something you do every week? You've got like, I don't know, Indian food night or Thai food night or just carb night, and you're really feeling bad that next day. Let's make sure that we're taking a look at that nutrition. Make sure you're getting what you need and not just filling yourself up with tasty, but yet also junk food, right? Third piece here, life stress. When we talk about macros, what other stress do you have outside of your training? Is your job become stressful? Is it stressful just, as you're inside this pandemic or now as we are hopefully exiting it? Is there other elements of stress that come in family, relationship-wise, that are different than other times? It could be that you're fit, your training is the same, you're on the right path, but you've got this additional life stress because of whatever the situations may be. And that in and of itself is a major contributing factor to your fatigue and your reported fatigue, right? And then last but not least, what was your most recent break or your most recent time off? Strangely enough, endurance athletes have a tough time stopping. Raise your hand if you're that kind of person. What that means is that there'll be times when you do need to take time off. You actually do need to rest, listen to your body, give yourself a break. So checking in with yourself or with your training partner, or in this case, from me with my athletes, hey, when was that last time you took a day off? And you'll be surprised at how long it has been. And I mean a genuine day off, not a day where you just swam instead of bike and ran. That's still not a day off because you're doing something. And it's not a day off if you don't swim, bike, and run, for example, but you decide to go on a 10-mile hike. Not a day off. That's a big day. That's a big, big block. It's not the same as resting and laying around. And we need to know that. So it's really important we kind of dial in on those macro pieces, right? Then we go back to those foundational changes. So now we focus on those big things. Let's start implementing them. Sleep is an easy one to implement. It's really all about making sure that you dial in your go to bed time. That will help you most of all in terms of your sleep. Don't worry about when you get up. Make sure you're getting to bed sooner, right? On the nutrition side, let's pick something specifically, ideally where you're having those challenges, and let's fix that. So how do we make sure that example, using an earlier podcast was the ice cream. If you really like that ice cream and you want to have it, then use it selectively as a reward for the work that you're doing or as a prize that you earn. And we get that ice cream and the opportunity for making poor decisions on a frequent basis outside of your local zip code. So you can't get your hands on it, right? And we're going to ruin things. On the stress side, really taking a look at the course of your day. And typically, if you sit back and think about your day, or if you need to record like a little journal or keep some notes, you'll start to notice what those stressors are. And it's not always like angry coworker or traffic or commuting. Sometimes it's something less obvious. It could be a particular meeting that you have or an event or a space inside your work, whether it's psychological or actually geographic, that could be contributing to your situation. So we want to be mindful of that, right? And then last but not least, that time off, that rest, like really kind of dialing in. If we do need to factor in rest, and if you're feeling that chronic fatigue, let's build in that rest right away. I'd rather rest early, rest often. I can always fix too rested. I cannot fix in season leading up to a race the fact that you are overtrained and never listen to your body. So really be smart about it. Let's do the right thing here, okay? And then let's take a look at the pain points in the week here. And this is important. Where are things not going well for you? At what point in time during the week do you start to notice that there's a problem? Not that because that one session was the problem, but we get a sense of the fatigue that you're building up, and it could be that you're just not recovering enough in those early days, and that recovery may be more important, say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, than it is on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because those workouts are so put together. And if you rest appropriately early on, you're getting the recovery you need. You're able to come into the weekend and still be strong. So it's not so much about fixing Thursday or changing it or radically altering it. It's about making the right decisions earlier in the week to be good there, right? How do you want to modify, adjust, remove these sessions? So that's the order I want you to do it. Modify. Do I want to dial things down, spread out that main set, do it at an earlier time of day, do it indoors versus outdoors? How do I want to modify that, right? Do I want to adjust it, like really dial things back, or do I want to split it apart? How do I want to kind of get in the mechanics of that training session and start to really wrestle with it and decide, is it the right 3 hours on the bike? Is it the right thing, or 3 by 1 hours or 2 by 1.5 hours? What does that look like? Let's really get in there and make some adjustments and see if we can be better. And then last but not least, move it, right? Like get it out of there. Like just clear the decks. If you're super fatigued, often I'll tell people take 1 or 2 days off now. Like starting today, today's off from this call on, and 48 hours from after this call, you can work out again, even if that's like 9 p.m. your time, because you want to really be dialed in so that we know that you're making foundational decisions that are going to allow you to recover. And sometimes we just have to go right to breaking the glass and pulling that rest day out to make sure that you're in a good place. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to turn things around for you. At the end of the day, it's important to note that success overall athletically is a function of improved symptoms. So we've seen a positive change. You are too tired, you're not tired anymore. You are stressed, you're feeling less stress, right? But it's also improved sessions, right? So improved symptoms, making the problem better, will improve the quality of your session. So we're so outcome oriented. We want to make sure they're having the best runs or the best rides or whatever that is for our session. More often than not, when we get in season, that fatigue is the limiter that's holding you back and you're just not aware of it. So by improving those symptoms, by addressing those symptoms of sleep, recovery, nutrition, low glycogen, all of this associated downsides and signals that come with that, by improving those pieces, we're actually improving our sessions and our outcomes in those sessions. And those pieces compound over time to allow you to be successful without just pouring more work into those sessions and ignoring the problems that you're facing on a regular basis. So don't let in-season fatigue really sneak up on you. Instead, know your baseline markers, pay attention to it, and make smart decisions across the course of the season, starting right away with either immediate rest or immediate changes in terms of the adaptation structure of that week or the part of the phase that you're in, to make sure you can be continually successful over time. At the end of the day, if you're just too fatigued, you're not going to be absorbing the work. You're just shedding work because you can't take it all in, which means you're putting additional stress on your body as it compensates to handle that extra work, and it never pays off, right? You can't just put extra fitness in the barn for later. Done at the wrong time, extra fitness leads to extra fatigue, could lead to breakdown, could really set you back. It's not worth rolling the dice that way. Let's stay on track, stay smart, work with those macros, and get you rolling. All right. Who knew in-season fatigue could be a problem? It's not a problem. You're crushing it. Have a great week, everyone. I look forward to seeing you inside Endurance Station, whether it's on the socials or outside at the races. See you.